Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by Smithville Fiber Internet, streaming TV, home security and automation in Southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com. Maller Grodner Attorneys, providing legal services to clients and the community. Understanding, expertise, results. Bloomington and Indianapolis. lawmg.com. IU Alumni Association, connecting IU's network of alumni and sharing the Indiana spirit through scholarships, advocacy, and volunteerism. alumni.iu.edu. IU Center for Rural Engagement, extending IU Bloomington resources to improve Hoosier lives in partnership with communities and organizations. rural.indiana.edu. And by WTIU members. Thank you.
Coming up on Indiana Newsdesk. Hoosiers 50 and older can now get the COVID vaccine, and there's an avenue for teachers to get the shot as well. The latest vaccine information just ahead. A lot of Hoosiers are getting an unpleasant surprise when they open their electric bill.
And these bills were still getting ridiculous. I was like, okay, well, am I gonna have to bump it down to 50, 55 degrees in here?
Why are customers paying more? That story coming up. And black lawmakers are calling for changes after some of their colleagues were shouted down and booed by some Republicans during a debate.
People can get together and talk about their experiences and how those experiences affect their decision making, and something that everyone has to do.
Ahead, how state leaders are addressing racism, equity, and civility. And does the new leader of the House have control of his chamber? Those stories, plus the latest news headlines from across the state, right now on Indiana Newsdesk. Welcome to Indiana Newsdesk. I'm Joe Wren. Well, twice this week, the state expanded its criteria for who's eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine. Hoosiers who are 50 and older can now make appointments to get vaccinated. The state's health commissioner says by the middle of the month, she hopes anyone age 40 and above can start getting the shot. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine has been the game changer in Indiana. The state is getting about 54,000 doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, and unlike the other approved vaccines, this version only requires one dose. Health officials say the new vaccine is also what allowed the state to create 3 mass vaccination sites, including one at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
What's most important to understand is that all 3 vaccines are highly effective and successful at preventing hospitalizations and deaths. And those are the results we want to see with any vaccine. Hoosiers with specific comorbidities can also now register to get the vaccine. Those are individuals on dialysis, people with Down syndrome, post-organ transplant recipients, people with sickle cell, and cancer patients being treated now or in the last 3 months. The state's health commissioner says they'll also be expanding that list soon to include more conditions.
I would really be thinking that by mid to late March, we're to 40 and above.
Hoosiers who have comorbidities that make them eligible have to reach out to their primary care providers rather than register for a vaccine appointment through the state. After that, they'll be provided a separate registration link. As for teachers, there's been a lot of pressure aimed primarily at Governor Eric Holcomb to make the vaccine available to educators. But the governor and state health leaders say their age-based approach to vaccine rollout is working, so they're sticking with it, even though President Joe Biden called this week for states to make vaccinating teachers a priority.
It is being driven by data, and we will stay the course, and we will continue our work to reduce hospitalizations and save lives in Indiana.
Indiana teachers younger than 50 are eligible for shots under a federal program being operated at Kroger, Meijer, and Walmart stores.
They're scheduling with those 3 different entities directly with those 3 entities and sites, not 211 and not our website.
Just being able to get the vaccine at a pharmacy is a step in the right direction for teachers.
I know we all want to try to help our students. And it's going to take a coordinated effort among our pharmacies and our educators to make sure that we make this happen.
About 10% of Indiana residents have now been fully vaccinated against the coronavirus since shots first became available to healthcare workers and older residents in mid-December. For more on how vaccines are working in the state, we're joined by Regan Street Institute President and CEO, Dr. Peter Emby. Doctor, things really moving quickly with the state allowing more and more to get vaccinated. What impact will having that third vaccine, the single shot Johnson & Johnson dose approved this week, to the two already available mean for the public?
I think it's critically important. It's going to allow us immediately to vaccinate a lot more people. The new vaccine is highly effective, as are the others, in preventing hospitalizations and deaths. So we're very excited about the addition of that. Not only the additional doses, but the fact that it is a one-time shot is also incredibly helpful for getting out to a lot of populations and being able to vaccinate people who are more vulnerable and getting it out in mass vaccination sites like the ones that were set up this week by the state. So I think it's going to really help us advance and accelerate vaccination, and that's the most important thing right now.
Can you tell how far away are we from anyone who wants a vaccine being able to get one?
Yeah, it's really connected to this other news. I think it's really moving much more quickly than it had been in the last few weeks. So it's looking increasingly like adults should be able to get vaccinated, hopefully by the summer. Right now, the current estimates are that perhaps as early as the end of May, if everything continues on its current pace, we should be able to have enough vaccine for the majority of adults in the country. Realistically, things change. It could push into the summer a bit, but I'm confident with the numbers that we're seeing now that we should be able to hit that target, and that's really excellent. Of course, there's a whole other group of 16 and younger where there are still studies ongoing. And once we have more evidence that it's safe in that population, which I think we all expect will be the case, then we should be able to go into vaccinating even more people.
I know you touched on this, but we're getting a lot of questions about one vaccine being better than another. What's your comment on that?
Yeah, I think it's really hard to compare these to one another. I think the thing that I'm really focused on is right now we have a pandemic. We want to get that under control, and every one of these approved vaccines are highly effective at preventing hospitalizations and deaths. Whether or not there's truly a difference in effectiveness between the one or the other out in the real world, I think will play itself out over time. But comparing the studies to one another is very challenging because they were conducted at different times with different strains and variants out there. So right now, I think we have 3 effective vaccines, and my advice to everyone is get the one that you can get as soon as possible.
We just have just under 30 seconds left. Some states are ending their mask mandates despite only having a small percentage of their populations vaccinated. Is it too soon?
I do think it's too soon. I think that we really need to continue to take precautions. We know that even with vaccination, people can still carry the virus, and we're still learning about this. And frankly, a lot of virus is still out there. So I think we need to be very cautious and not let our guard down too quickly.
All right, Dr. I know you're busy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Well, coronavirus-related hospitalization and deaths had fallen about 80% from their December peaks. Indiana's 7-day all-test positivity rate continues to decline and is now at its lowest point since early in the pandemic at 3.3%. Well, looking back at the last year of the pandemic, the mayor of Columbus says his city had an edge on recovery efforts due to its business profile. Mayor Jim Linnop says he remembers thinking this was going to be serious, but didn't anticipate it would last this long. Linnop says he received early information from business relationships in China that the coronavirus was the real deal. The city's first COVID task force meeting was in February of 2020.
Our first reaction was to send some personal protective equipment to the Wuhan friends that we have, because this came onto them pretty quickly. And then it wasn't too much after that we were asking them for help in reverse. And so they sent boxes upon boxes of masks and hand cleaner and other PPE type items.
He says he thinks the early response contributed to the county's relatively low case numbers compared to the rest of Indiana. Linnop says it's just going to take time to get through the vaccination process. He says herd immunity in Bartholomew County means about 70,000 vaccinated. As of this week, about 8,000 are vaccinated. Well, the head of Indiana's House Republicans says he won't tolerate unruly behavior from his GOP colleagues. This is after a number of Republicans heckled members of the Black Caucus last month while they were speaking on the House floor. Democrats are pressuring the GOP to take action and, among other things, require lawmakers to go through racial bias training. My colleague Adam Pinsker has been following this story. He joins us now from the State House with more on the ongoing tensions.
Representative Robin Shackelford, who is in charge of the Indiana Legislative Black Caucus, says she had a productive meeting with Speaker Todd Houston about the incident a couple weeks ago, but says there's still work to be done. What started out as a debate over a school de-annexing bill on February 18th quickly spiraled out of control.
Here we go again. The discrimination and segregation, the things like that is excuse me, I have a right. Mr. Speaker, we're going to stop my remarks.
Can all the members just
no,
take
it's
a
not.
deep
No,
breath?
it's
Go right ahead,
impugning me as a legislator to say what I feel.
Representative Jake Teschka's bill would allow Green Township to break away from the South Bend School Corporation and join the John Glenn School District. Teschka says a majority of students in Green Township aren't attending schools in South Bend, so de-annexing makes sense.
Out of the roughly 400 school-age kids in Green Township, South Bend is currently educating 88 of those.
Teschka says if the governor signs the bill into law, the State Board of Education would still have to approve the plan. Voters in Green Township would also have to pass a referendum before de-annexing. He says the South Bend district would not lose out on property tax revenue for at least a decade if the de-annexation is successful.
South Bend did pass a referendum last year, and if this process moves forward and if Green Township were to de-annex, they would still be paying on that referendum through its 10-year course.
Teschka says the same legislation passed the Senate twice last year with bipartisan support, but when it was brought up again in last month's House session, members of the Black Legislative Caucus said a bill paving the way for a mostly white township to break away from a predominantly black and brown school district has racist overtones.
And I don't care how you twist it, how you paint it, how you disguise it, how you camouflage it, it's racism. You can boo if you want to.
The tension spilled out into the hallway where State Representative Vanessa Summers says Republican Representative Sean Eberhardt lunged toward her. After the incident, the head of the Indiana Legislative Black Caucus, Representative Robin Shackelford, requested more Indiana State Police be posted at the Indiana Government Center where legislative sessions are being held due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
During that incident, the Indiana State Police just happened to be away from their detail right there in front of the chamber. So we got to talk to Superintendent Carter. I spoke to him personally. He's going to make sure that there's someone at all times securing the chamber.
Shackelford also wants the members who were heckling during the session to be censured, and she wants all lawmakers to go through anti-racism training.
Whether it's 5 or 10 people can get together and talk about their experiences and how those experiences affect their decision making, and something that everyone has to do.
Shackelford and other members of the Black Caucus organized a silent protest called Days of Action to bring attention to what they say is blatant disrespect being shown by the House Republican supermajority.
When you're bigger than the little guy, your tone is not respectful always. And that's the way I view what is happening down here.
Vice Chair of the Indiana Democratic Party, Cordelia Lewis-Burks, once served as a lobbyist in the 80s and 90s. She says Democrats and Republicans worked together during that time, even when they disagreed. She says longtime Republican Speaker of the House Brian Bosma, who retired last year, wouldn't have tolerated what occurred in the chamber last month.
I know we've got a novice in the Speaker's office, and this is nothing against him. I think they're taking advantage of him. But I think if Brian was still around, this would not have occurred.
Current Speaker of the House Todd Houston didn't respond to our request for an interview, but during a meeting of the House last week, he told lawmakers that he will strictly enforce rules of decorum from now on.
I don't want to be heavy-handed in enforcement. It's not my nature to be heavy-handed in enforcement, but make no mistake, moving forward, that will be the case.
Representative Shackelford and Teschka agree that the current state of national politics and the constraints of holding a legislative session under COVID-19 restrictions are contributing to the tension between Democrats and Republicans.
I went up to Representative Smith and Representative Porter after the whole thing happened on the floor and extended my hand to them. And you could tell that the emotion in their eyes is genuine.
The call to action days will continue next week here at the State House. For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Adam Pinsker.
Indiana Republican Todd Young officially launched his bid for another 6 years in the U.S. Senate.
I also pledged to you that I would work on behalf of all Hoosiers to deliver conservative results. I believe I've lived up to my oath and kept my word, but more work remains.
Young formally begins his re-election campaign with a sizable financial advantage with more than $2 million in his campaign account. The Hoosier lawmaker has served in Congress for more than a decade, including 3 terms in the House before being elected to the Senate in 2016. He also led the fundraising wing for Senate Republicans in the 2020 election. Coming up next on Indiana Newsdesk. Customers are seeing soaring energy bills this winter, but the electric company says blame the cold. And an ordinance that would have given more protections to those experiencing homelessness failed in City Council this week. Ahead, what's next for Bloomington's unhoused persons? These stories and more right here on Indiana Newsdesk.
Welcome to the Amanpour on PBS. I'm Christiane Amanpour in London, giving you the global view. I've covered the world for nearly 3 decades, and I'm dedicated to bringing you all the facts. Please join me for conversations with newsmakers, world leaders.
Good to be with you, Christiane.
Artists and writers, the people who define, change, and challenge our world. That's Amanpour on PBS.
Ready to watch the best of PBS anytime, anywhere, on nearly any device? It's easy with the PBS Video app. Simply download the PBS Video app on your mobile or streaming device. Now you can watch the latest PBS episodes or catch up on the shows you missed, discover new favorites from PBS, and local content from your PBS station.
Welcome back to Indiana Newsdesk. Earlier this week, Bloomington's City Council debated for 9 hours over an ordinance that would protect people experiencing homelessness who are sleeping in city parks. But as Ethan Burks reports, that measure didn't pass.
Ordinance 20-06 was a very polarizing issue for the council. It aimed to protect homeless encampments, like the one in Seminary Park this winter, from being removed if other shelter options aren't available for the people sleeping there.
An unhoused person has no place to go, literally no bed anywhere in this town where they can sleep, including in shelters, should they have a legal place to sleep.
That was the fundamental question that Flaherty and other supporters wanted to address. Their stated goal was to decriminalize sleeping in public spaces.
It's not my intention or anyone's intention that the city create tent camp in our city. That's not my interest. I have no interest whatsoever in that. What I am interested in is the decriminalization of sleeping.
But the council was gridlocked, with other members saying the legislation was flawed.
This has all been done without proper communication with or consideration of the employees of our city who are going to be tasked with the execution of this.
Sandberg says the proper research and vetting were not done in the areas of funding, staffing, and maintenance of an encampment in a city park.
It is undeveloped, it's ill-conceived, it's ambiguous. It codifies homeless encampments in parks where we've already seen once fatality.
The opposing council members agreed that something should be done to address homelessness, but they said this ordinance is not the answer, and the best thing to do is to move on from it and work on new solutions that will fix the problem.
I feel like we're just sweeping the problem under the rug again. This is a very urgent problem. This is not something that we can take another 10 years, 20 years to deal with.
Supporters of the measure worry that when the emergency winter shelters close for the spring, the community will be faced with the issue all over again, and tents will be back in city parks.
Ethan joins us from the newsroom to tell us how this whole thing played out. Ethan, you sat through that long 9-hour meeting on Wednesday. What's your biggest takeaway?
Well, simply put, this was the perfect example of a divided issue. You know, in the city council, you had 4 members on one side supporting it, and then 4 on the other side opposing it. Now, I know that sounds a little unusual to have an even number, but that's because Council President Jim Sims could not attend the meeting this week due to a family matter.
What factor did the uneven number of council members mean for adopting the ordinance?
Well, I think we all were taught growing up in local government classes that majority rules in democracy, and it's actually true in local government too. When it comes to voting, the side with the most votes, they win. And because in this instance it was 4-4 on both sides, the vote was split, so it could not pass.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the main disagreement the council had over the issue?
Well, the entire council and realistically the whole community agrees homelessness is a big problem in this city. It needs attention, there needs to be a solution, and that solution is very complex, but there are varying opinions on how to go about it. The people who supported this ordinance say there will always be some sort of homelessness in the city and people have nowhere to go. And for whatever those reasons are, those individuals can't go to a shelter or anywhere else, so they need somewhere to sleep. And why not have those people be together in the same area where they can receive the help that they need and not live in fear of being kicked out? Now on the other side, you have people who think that's not the city's responsibility. They believe the ordinance wasn't fully thought out in terms of how much it would cost and how much it would be to maintain the homeless encampment 24 hours a day. Now you also had local pushback from businesses and residents who didn't want encampments anywhere in town. And the solution to them would be to coordinate with the right organizations who are trained to deal with this problem.
So what's next now with the ordinance?
Well, right now there's no other kind of legislation coming from the city. If the council wanted to write up another ordinance, they would have to start from scratch and do it all over again, and that could take months.
All right, Ethan, thank you very much.
Thanks, Joe.
Well, many Hoosiers have noticed higher energy bills this winter and look to online forums such as Facebook groups for answers. Colder temperatures and a recent rate increase could be behind the spike. Lily St. Angelo reports.
Bloomington resident Melissa Brooks keeps the thermostat in her 2-bedroom apartment around 60 to 64 degrees. It's one way she can lower her energy use and keep her bill down. But her efforts haven't paid off this winter.
When I saw that I was keeping it, at between 60 and 64 and these bills were still getting ridiculous, I was like, okay, well, am I going to have to bump it down to 50, 55 degrees in here?
In December, Brooks' bill was $214, $78 more than her 2019 December bill. Brooks says she already had her weather stripping and window sealant checked, and she's going to have her heater looked at, but she doesn't think her apartment is the problem.
It still doesn't answer to all the other people who have noticed these massive increases.
Duke Energy, Brooks' electric provider, blames it on the cold temperatures.
We just don't realize how much extra fuel it takes to keep us warm when the temperature gets so cold.
And Duke spokesperson Lou Middleton says a home's age makes a big difference in how energy efficient it is. In Bloomington, many people live in aging homes and apartments. The National Weather Service in Indianapolis says the average temperature this winter in Indiana has been several degrees colder than last year.
This winter season was almost 5 degrees colder compared to last year's winter season for the 3 months.
Meteorologist Sam Lashley says even though this winter's temperatures were average in the context of the past 30 years, there has not been a colder winter since 2014 to 2015.
We quickly forget what it was like a few winters ago. When it comes to weather, we tend to remember just those most recent events. And it all starts to blur together the farther back you go.
But Brooks doesn't believe the weather alone is driving her bill up. Under the Duke Energy rate increase approved in June, an average bill for 1,000 kilowatt hours will be $15 higher. That increase is phased over 2 years. 80% of it came in July, and the last 20% will come sometime in 2021.
I understand that there was a rate increase, so whatever they're doing is legal, but it does not make it right, nor does it make it sustainable or realistic. And it's frankly another example of getting priced out of this area.
Brooks said the only reason she hasn't had to dip into savings is because her loan payments are on hold due to the pandemic. Middleton says with the money from the rate increase, Duke will recover the costs it has already paid to build out new infrastructure for 50,000 new customers.
And if you think of that in terms of homes and businesses, that means that it's going to take more utility poles, more power lines, more transformers, more of a lot of equipment.
Brooks says she wishes Duke was more transparent about where customers' money goes, especially when the cost of living is rising in more than one arena.
The real estate market is insane in this town, and now the utilities are becoming even more problematic.
After a frigid February, Brooks expects an even higher bill this month. For WFIU News, I'm Lily St. Angelo.
The Indiana women's basketball team wraps up one of its best regular seasons in history this weekend. The Hoosiers are ranked number 10 in the nation and have tied the school record for Big Ten wins in a season with 15. They can break the record with the win over Purdue Saturday at Assembly Hall. The Hoosiers are 17-4 overall, 15-2 in the Big Ten, and have clinched the number 2 seed in next week's conference tournament. And the Little 500 is returning this spring to IU. It's set for May 26th at Bill Armstrong Stadium. The event was canceled last year because of the pandemic. There will be no fans allowed this year, but you can watch the races on a university live stream feed. Riders will follow COVID health protocols used by IU Athletics. That's the end of this program. Our work continues online at WTIUnews.org. Have a great weekend.
Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by Smithville Fiber Internet, streaming TV, home security and automation in Southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com. Maller Grodner Attorneys, providing legal services to clients and the community. Understanding, expertise, results. Bloomington and Indianapolis. LawMG.com. IU Alumni Association, connecting IU's network of alumni and sharing the Indiana spirit through scholarships, advocacy, and volunteerism. Alumni.iu.edu. IU Center for Rural Engagement, extending IU Bloomington resources to improve Hoosier lives in partnership with communities and organizations. Rural.indiana.edu. And by WTIU members. Thank you.